Good morning, everyone. I am your host of the Tinderbox podcast, Reverend Mishka Russell, and I am here at the Sankofa CPE Conference that is happening in the Chicagoland area. And I'm here with one of the participants, Ralph Watkins, and I wanted to get his impression about the conference. He came here for a reason, and the question that I'm going to ask is, what excited you, invited you to come into this space? And then I'm going to ask you a separate question because we talked a little bit earlier before Ralph sat down. And so I want these impressions of, number one, what drew you here? And then what are you hoping to learn? And then what have you already learned? Those are my three questions for you.
Yeah, well, what drew me here is I'm a professor at Columbia Theological Seminary in Decatur, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta. And so I'm the pre-chief professor of evangelism and church growth. One of my key areas is leadership. And so I'm preparing leaders for ministry. And after 30 years of being in ministry, whatever I learned, I've learned so much. But I learned these spaces like this are needed. And so the vision of Dr. Danny to have a space where pastors can come and think about the issue of self-care, think about the issue of wellness, think about the 8 dimensions of wellness and health, and to live into that and grapple with those very difficult questions. How do I have these conversations with myself, my family, and my congregation so that we all are healthy? And so for me as a professor teaching students every single week about this, how can I help them have those conversations? And here's the thing about it. These are conversations I didn't know how to have in my 30 years of ministry. So I came to learn. I came to learn that I can share and grow and develop healthy leaders, healthier congregations for the future of the Black church.
I love that. I love that you are going to take this back to the seminary because it is one of the things that's lacking. I'm going through seminary myself. Nothing like this,
That's right.
was ever conceptualized.
Right.
I mean, you have practical theology. You go out and you do something, but not intentional about really how to care for yourself in the ministry that you feel that you are called to do. And being okay with transitioning. You might start off in one aspect of ministry and get called to something else and be okay with doing that and having people that can affirm you, can encourage you, and support you in those spaces to be able to do that. Because everybody ain't called a pastor.
They really are. And we don't realize that, but I think certainly the Black church, I think if you call it a preacher, call it a pastor. Like I said, most of my career has been an executive pastor of large churches. I mean, I ain't got to never preach, But then I have pastored as well, and I really found that really wasn't my call. My call was really to support a pastor. And that's part of this too, right? The openness of conversation. I think also this is a space we can build relationships to talk to others as well and think about what does it mean to be called, then how do I live that calling out in a healthier way? Because I think the biggest thing you talk about those past conferences, as a church growth person, it's, how to go to church, right? And then what growth does to you in your family. How to preach the best sermons, how to do series preaching and all this kind of stuff. Those types of conferences. But conferences like this do not exist.
They don't.
And so I'm here because this is needed. I mean, after being in the ministry for over 30 years, I'm 64 years young now. And over 30 years, there's not been a space like this. And so I've been trying to figure out healthier ways of being and pushing against the kind of expectations of congregational life, but not having a language or a space to think through it. And also to have colleagues who are raising similar questions and wrestling those things in their context as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the expectation that people have, is idealized conception of what it means to be a pastor. And a lot of people get lured in and enticed, with what feels like, what that's supposed to look like, imitating, people wanting to be a caricature, that's my word, or performative.
But I also think we're socialized, right? I'm brought up in the church in my 20s, and I'm beginning to pastor in my 20s and 30s. And so the models that had been presented before me, I thought those were appropriate functional models. So I was socialized to those expectations. That behavior was normative. That's what I was supposed to do. And I didn't question because that's what I was supposed to do. It's kind of like, some folk put salt and grits, some folk put sugar and grits. I was taught you put salt and grits. We're not going to start that argument. I retract that, right? So how we were socialized, what it meant to be a pastor. And what was expected to be a pastor of a Black church. You preached every Sunday. You preached every funeral. You taught Bible study. You visit everybody in church. You had to hoop and you had to sing,
And you had to sing.
And you had to have no family
key.
time, no vacation, on key, those things. And so for me, it was that socialization.
Yeah.
And then I tried to live into that and realize how unhealthy it was. And so I know that this model is needed to rethink that so we can develop new models of what it means to be healthy as a pastor,
Yeah.
as pastoral families, and as congregations.
And so you had the privilege, I'm gonna call it that, to hear a conversation.
Sure.
I'm not gonna give the secret away, the conversation that he heard.
Right.
But you had the privilege of hearing a conversation, and what I invite you is to share what you learned out of that conversation.
Well, I learned a lot of things that were reflective of me looking in the mirror, what I had done as a pastor, of those unhealthy practices. Example being, I'm not turning my phone off, taking every call, making a hospital visit. I really heard how unhealthy the life I lived was, but also I heard how healthy it can be, right? So I was invited to reflect, but also then to think about what action I can literally take in real time to live a healthier life. Because even now, I'm still in the church, still doing work in the church. So I really learned that. And specifically, as Dr. Danny talked about issues of wellness and the 8 dimensions of wellness, like financial wellness, spiritual wellness, physical wellness, environmental wellness. I'm like, I ain't think all those dimensions even existed. Right. I thought I worked out every day and eat halfway good. I thought that was good. But your physical wellness, your relational wellness. And so to think about her at the 8 dimensions of wellness, that was eye-opening to me. And to not to segregate them, but to integrate them into what it means to be a whole functioning human being in relation with your family, your friends, your community, and your congregation, other people that you serve. And so that was eye-opening to me. And then also, what was eye-opening was inviting me to have these courageous conversations about boundaries, about not being disturbed, about personal time, about family time, about vacation time, about not preaching every Sunday, about having these conversations in congregations to develop new models of ministry that are healthy for our clergy persons, their families, and for our congregations.
And I love that what you just said about new models of ministry. That's been something that I have desired. I've always said, I am not a pastor. I was not called to be a pastor. I'm a strong second chair.
I'm with you.
I'm a strong second chair. I will support the pastor.
That's right.
I will support the vision.
That's right.
I know my call. At this particular point in time, I know my call. It might change, but I know it right now. And that model is important because the pastor doesn't need to preach every Lenten season, every Advent, every Mother's or Father's Day. To have a preaching calendar, to have different people who have different ministries, because the pastor can't do everything. You can't build, you can't, you don't have all those gifts.
That's right.
Some think they do. But to use all of the different models and to collectively have a whole ministry that touches all the different wellness. That's the thing. And I love that you put that word out there of an appropriate model to ministry. But how do you get pastors who, again, have been socialized that, again, I'm the pastor, I'm the executive, I'm fill in the blank, to be okay to share the pulpit, to share the ministry, right?
Well, see, but I think that's why Dr. Danny has this vision, right?
That part.
This is the space we can have these conversations. Because here's the thing, I when I was pastoring, I would think like, I don't feel like preaching today, right? Can I take a Sunday off? But who can I talk to? And who can I talk to? Say, how do you talk your people through this? For example, I think as a pastor, you're called to be a great preacher. You got to have good bedside manner, be able to visit, be able to find rooms at hospitals, which is right.
Wayfinding is challenging in hospitals.
Always telling you, right? Then be a good preacher, then be a good teacher. It's one of the most demanding jobs in the culture. Because you have to do so many things well. You got to run deacon meeting well, steward meeting well, trustee meeting well, fisher board meeting well, family meeting well. You got to preach well. You got to teach all this. So the point about this, I think that when we have spaces like this, we can begin to have conversations. And then also, as I'm thinking these things, I'm realizing I'm not the only one raising these questions. And it's okay to question the model.
It is.
Because in many ways, the model is so dominant, we're not given the opportunity to question the model. It's almost assumed and presumed this is how I should act and how I should be. So this space says, wait a minute. It's okay to question. It's okay to have conversation. Okay to rethink. Then I have partners and colleagues who I can think with and walk with and begin to grow these. Because I really think if the church is going to be what it can be in this next generation or iteration, it's only going to be able to serve well with these new models. I have two brilliant children, 40 and 39. One's a lawyer, one's a professor at a university, and they're so healthy.
Nice.
Because my daughter will say at 40, look, I'm taking 2 weeks off. She has her own law firm.
Hey.
But they're living a different lifestyle than we lived as their parents.
Yeah.
And so my point is, I think for the church to be successful, I think that generation is going to expect their pastors to live and reflect the way they live.
Yeah.
Like my kids don't go to church every Sunday.
Nope.
Maybe first and third. We went every Sunday, Sunday school, Bible study, choir rehearsal. They ain't doing that.
Right.
They ain't doing that.
Every day of the week.
So really, I think for this next generation of pastors, it can look different. But if they assume they have to be like us, that's the dysfunction.
Yeah.
And this space says, wait a minute, we can ask the questions, we can find solutions and answers, we can develop new models that really reflect those who we're called to serve.
I love it.
Right. And I think if we do that, I think that will give the church a broader appeal.
Yeah.
And I think it will be a new model for the church and for church leaders, and a much healthier model and a much more sustainable model.
Sustainable.
That you ain't dying in the pulpit.
That part.
You know what I mean?
People literally have died in the pulpit.
And if they not died, also what I learned, you asked the question about what we suffer from.
Yeah.
The issue of dysfunctional, unhealthy marital relationships.
Yeah.
Where our kids grow up hating the church.
Hating the church.
Right. And you think about it, we come to church Sunday morning. I've done this when I was pastoring. Me and my wife then argued all the way to church. Then argued from the front door to the steps of the church. And got to come, good morning, praise God, hallelujah. So I said, you know what? I'm
performative.
Right. And so my kids saw that.
Yeah.
Right. And so my point is how to this space says, let's rethink this.
Yeah.
And maybe that Sunday said, look, y'all, I ain't coming. Matter of fact, Reverend, you so and so got to preach, right?
Right.
Because I need this Sunday. Yeah, but if we had taken Sundays off.
Yes.
Right. And I didn't realize when Dr. Dane when the conversation I heard was talking about
secret conversation.
Talking about the levels of issues we have in the ministry, all those things, the stress, the anxiety, the depression, the suicide ideation, all of those things that I've heard in this space. I can own those as part of my experience, but I couldn't name them when I was experiencing them because you ain't supposed to think like that. And everybody's celebrating what you're doing and how great the ministry is. And, oh, we love you, Pastor. But you dying after they say they love you. When you go home after church on Sunday and literally you fall out.
Literally.
Because it's been that exhausting.
Yeah.
Right.
And layer all of that on top of our health disparities.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Our chronic illnesses, all those different types of eating unhealthy.
That's right.
And not having those times where we can rejuvenate ourselves.
That's right.
And care for our physical body, right?
That's
go
right.
walk, go exercise, go ride a bike, whatever the case may be.
Right.
And all of that over a number of years. You talk about, again, heart attacks, aneurysm. I mean, any type of chronic illness affecting us. And we've got a system that doesn't care for us very well. And then you stack all of that together, you're asking for someone to have something happen. It's just unhealthy.
And then when when the conversation heard, we're talking about bad theology has killed more people than the pandemic, right? And also our pastoral theology is unhealthy.
Yes.
Right? And so I think about all those things that are so unhealthy that have killed us, to include, as you talked about, our physical issue, like how we eat at churches, right? The pastor got to sit down and, they bring on that food and they get mad if you don't eat the food, right?
Right.
And then she talked about, intellectual wellness, right? What are we reading? Or I know many times I was in ministry, my engagement of a scripture was trying to prepare the next Bible study and sermon.
Yeah.
And I wasn't studying for my own personal spiritual development. I was trying to find the next hook, the next sermon, the next series, the next Bible study. And so I think all those things contribute to that physical unhealthiness, because I think those things all work together. And what I learned here was that I kind of saw those things as siloed. My intellectual, my spiritual, my physical, my environmental, my relational, all those things work together to make the whole person.
That's right.
And that kind of holistic way of thinking that I've heard here has moved me to think, you can't isolate them because they work together and they affect each other. That's why we have this kind of
they're building blocks.
They really are.
Yeah, they're building blocks.
And so that kind of integration from this African-centered perspective has been a healthy, liberative way to help me think about these models.
Yeah, absolutely. I happened to fall in love. I was on vacation.
Right.
Me and my kids, and there was archery there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna try this.
Right.
I fell in love instantly.
Right.
And I made a promise to myself, and actually I kept it, that I'm going to find some place where I do archery. You can't think about anything else while you're in that space. You have to be completely present, because if you're not going to hit the target. The bow is the arrow is going to go all over the different places. You can't have conversation. You have to pay attention to where your body is, how you're standing, how you're holding the instrument, what you're looking at. You can't go check your phone for messages. You can't do any of that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, I found my space. I found my space where I can actually just wash out everything else, and it's just me and this object. And to spend an hour and a half just doing that, it was eye-opening when I did. I was like, I felt so much better. I was relaxed in the shoulders. I was all of that. And so that being purposeful and being attentive to self. People want to say, oh, you're being selfish. I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm caring for self.
That's right.
I'm caring for self.
One of the important things you said there was, I made a promise to myself and I kept it.
And I kept it. That part.
Right? Because we make promises to ourselves, I'm going to do better, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to do these things, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to work less, I'm going to make sure I miss my kids' recital or game, I'm going to make sure I'm home at a certain time. If the trustee meeting is going to 10, I'm leaving at 7. Those kind of things, right? But you made a promise to yourself and you kept it. And I think part of this space is inviting us to make promises to ourselves. It's making promises to take care of ourselves for the sake of the church, for the sake of our family, for the sake of the sake that we're created in the image of God. We are God's children. And I think it's interesting that as much as we take care of our own physical children, we don't take care of God's child, which we are. And when we make promises to ourselves to do better, do we keep the promises we make to ourselves? Because if I promise I'm coming to the hospital, I'm going to be there. If I don't be there Sunday, I'm going to be there. Wednesday night Bibles, I'm going to be there. But do we keep the promise we make to ourselves to take care of ourselves for the sake of ourselves, our families, and those we're called to serve? That's powerful. And I think this space opens us up to asking, what promises do I need to make to myself and keep to myself and for myself, right? That's important.
I love that. I love that. Is there anything else that you want to share with the Tinderbox podcast?
No, I think it's important to be in spaces like this because I think it's going to be a space that's going to keep us whole and healed. And I think it's a space that will serve the future of the church. And it's going to happen every other year. So if you didn't make it this year, you need to make it and put it on your calendar as a biannual experience. Because I think it's going to make us the church that God's calling us to be for the now and for the future.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so happy that we connected. That's one of the things we're doing here at the conference. We're connecting and networking, right? We have accountability partners with each other, right?
That's right.
And we're exchanging connections so that, we can make sure that we hold each other accountable to keep the promises to yourself.
That's right.
Whatever we leave this space saying that we're going to promise to ourselves, that someone else is going to check in on us and make sure that we've kept that promise. Because we coming back in 2 years.
And I'm asking about that archery.
Hey, I might be in a competition in 2 years. Hey, come on now.
Now you will be.
That part. I'm going to be in a competition. Y'all, it's recorded. It's going to happen.
We're going to check back in 2 years and see.
We're going to check back in 2 years. Oh, my gosh, Ralph. Thank you so
much. I appreciate it. My pleasure.
For being a part of the podcast. Again, we are launching our very first podcast here at the Sankofa CPE Conference for Clergy and Chaplains and Mental Wellness. We're in Chicagoland. We're out here in beautiful Marriott in Oak Brook. So you all tune in and see who else might have something to say about the conference and share some nuggets of wisdom. All right.
Thanks.
God bless you.
Thanks.
Peace be with you, my brother.
Same to you.